Hey, folks, we're going to kick off momentarily. Just give us a moment while we pack the room here. We're back for Secret Spaces, February 7th edition. Give us a moment and we will be starting right up.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Good morning, Shade Protocol. We're also going to get Patrick up here to co host. He's going to uh, help add our pinned tweet here. We're also going to make sure this goes out to all the communities. We ask that you share the link to this Twitter space with your communities on Telegram, on Discord, on Twitter, wherever your friends get their Twitter space news. Make sure they come and check this out today. We're super excited to be talking about ShadeSwap. And I think that a lot of people have been looking forward to ShadeSwap for quite some time. So please jump on in here, hit us up, and we'll get started in just a moment. But please share the link around first so we can pack the room for these guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I mean, we're here 5 minutes after the hour. I think it's a perfect time to get kicked off with the Shade team. Again, this is Secret Spaces. We do these every Tuesday. We're doing this with the Shade Protocol team to discuss ShadeSwap, one of the many products that's coming out of the Shade Protocol team, all secured by Secret Network, all super powered applications that are possible in our ecosystem, but interoperable with the rest of the cosmos and beyond. I'm crazy excited to hear about what the heck ShadeSwap is, what it does, and how you can start using it. Before we get to all that, though, let's at least figure out who we've got up here on stage with me. So who's joining us from the Shade account today? Let us know who you are and what your involvement with the project is.
Hey guys, thanks for having us. It's Fisco on the Shade account today. Carter's not taking a vacation out in South Carolina with some family, so he's busy this afternoon, but still getting super close to lunch. So we're all working pretty hard right now. But it is Fisco from the Shade account.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And it's good to be welcoming Shade back to Secret Spaces. We've had you guys on here before to talk about your roadmap. I'd say you're one of the highest profile projects in the Secret ecosystem. You guys have a pretty big team and a pretty big roadmap and a very big vision for privacy first DeFi, which is really exciting to see. So since we've got you here, we decided to do what we always do for Secret Spaces and let people mint a free to mint NFT, a secret NFT, just for showing up, just for hanging out with you today. So every time we host a Secret Spaces, you can see the pinned tweet here. Click through to mint your very own secret badge. These are our versions of POAPs, but they're awesome and privacy preserving, so they're better. But you will need the claim code. So for the first time today, we will reveal the claim code. The claim code is Spartan. All one word, all capitals, Spartan, Spartan. Put in that code, mint your secret spaces badge, and then you can show off that you were here supporting the Shade team, or you can keep it privately for yourself. That's the awesome part about secret NFTs. The choice is always yours as the collector. So, without any further ado, let's get back into Shade Protocol. We're delighted to have Fisco with us here. There's probably at least one person in the audience, maybe this is the first time they've heard anything about Shade Protocol. So let's fix that right now. What is Shade Protocol? Give us the big picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the big picture of Shade is that we are an array or a super app of privacy preserving DeFi applications, obviously built on Secret Network, leveraging your guys' privacy technology. But we really believe that to have a coherent DeFi ecosystem, privacy is necessary. So then based off that privacy, we're able to build a ton of different DeFi applications that all interoperate with one another and accrue value back to Shade and help with the stability of Silk, our stablecoin. So we've got lending, stablecoin, swap coming out at the end of the month here. And then we've already got bonds, staking derivative, portfolio page, and other products that are live on our current mainnet.
Awesome. If anybody wants to follow along, by the way, while we're doing this, where can they go and check out Shade Protocol? Did you say the website?
Yeah, head to app.shadeprotocol.io and you can check out everything that's live on mainnet. There's links to docs, links to our socials, and you can find out a lot more about what we're building over there.
Amazing. All right. So for anybody who wants an interactive space, go see what Shade's already launched. But of course, we really want to hear about what Shade hasn't launched. We want to get the alpha. We want to know what's coming. So, since we now kind of understand the big picture here, let's start talking about some specifics. What is ShadeSwap? We're here to talk about ShadeSwap. It sounds pretty exciting to me. What the heck is it?
Yeah, ShadeSwap's really what we picture as one of the centerpieces of what we're building. Obviously, it's a decentralized exchange, and those have been built before, but there's a couple specific pieces to ShadeSwap that make it super special. First off, obviously, it's privacy preserving, which is a huge, huge aspect of the swap. But we also have taken Curve's mathematics and iterated on those and developed a new version of a curve for ShadeSwap that we're super, super excited about. This allows asymmetric control over the slippage curve. So as you get to further ends of the tail on a curve, for example, the one that's being used on curve finances, the typical model is that the slippage rates are symmetrical on both sides. But with our new mathematics, we were able to develop a curve that has differential control over both tail ends, so you can incentivize different order flows. You can incentivize directionality for stablecoins and staking derivatives, but that really makes ShadeSwap super super efficient on gas, super super efficient on slippage, and hopefully one of the most efficient dexes that's ever been made in DeFi as a whole.
Amazing. I like the sound of new math. I was sick of the old math, so this sounds pretty cool. So at launch, I mean, right, we're talking about the whole arc here from launch to the far future for SageSwap. I know you guys have a big plan. What's the very first thing people are going to be able to do once you guys are live? What do you want them to come to Shade and do on the first day?
Yeah, very first thing you'll be able to do, since we're integrated with a bunch of other DeFi applications on our own website, you'll be able to bridge in any of your Cosmos assets or Ethereum assets through the Axelar bridge. And immediately with those assets brought into the secret network ecosystem, into the Shade app, you'll be able to head to swap and you'll be able to swap assets. You'll be able to buy bonds. You'll be able to use our staking bonds. You'll be able to bridge to other chains. And essentially, we're really envisioning Shade Protocol and the privacy preserving aspects of it as the privacy hub for the Cosmos, a privacy option for Ethereum, and really an interconnected space where you can come do any of your DeFi transactions wrapped in privacy and then leave or enter from any of the different ecosystems that we're attached to.
Awesome. Yeah, bridging is obviously something that we talk a lot about in the Cosmos and in the secret ecosystem, kind of specifically. How are you guys thinking about all of that bridging right now, or have you been talking to a lot of people about bridging? It feels like the biggest thing for somebody like you is just being able to get the assets in and get the assets out. How do you guys think about that, knowing that you're building specifically on secret, but you're trying to be interoperable with everybody in the interchain and beyond?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great question. So essentially, what it comes down to for us with a bridge is that we want access to your assets in the entire Cosmos ecosystem and Ethereum ecosystems to be super easy and super straightforward, and also super closely associated with other DeFi products. So there's an issue right now where, say you use Axelar Bridge from Ethereum and you bring in ETH wrapped access. So you've got AXL USD, USDC. It's difficult then from that point to find DeFi applications that are easily accessible right from that bridging point of entry. And then you actually have to take those assets, move it to other chains, move it to other applications. And they're all kind of siloed away from each other, and it creates a really difficult user flow. So part of what the secret net or the Shade Protocol vision is with all of our applications under one banner is to have a super seamless UI UX experience where an individual who's interested in leveraging secret network privacy or using Shade DeFi applications can come from Ethereum or come from Cosmos and directly move into our ecosystem, utilize all of the DeFi services that we're offering and that we're building out, and eventually be able to leverage Silk, leverage other stable coins on our swaps, on our lending, all without using more than 3 or 4 clicks from the bridging.
Amazing. I mean, it's great to hear you guys talking specifically about the user experience because it feels like the last thing that gets talked about a lot of the time in the blockchain space is exactly that, the user experience. We're very concerned with the secret ecosystem about the user experience, and we get told all the time, or used to get told all the time, anyways. Oh, privacy is important, but it always makes the user experience worse. And users don't accept that, or users don't care about privacy. So why would they want to use anything that's harder to use? A lot of the time in the blockchain space, I don't really think it's the privacy aspect that makes things harder to use. A lot of the time, it's just we've deliberately kind of made things hard to use. And it's clear to me that already on launch, you guys have thought a lot about how to make Shade and its products very usable, despite the fact that users are getting privacy guarantees as well. It's going to feel more usable than a lot of Web3 applications where you get no privacy guarantees. It just maybe that's too low of a bar to set because so many blockchain applications are essentially unusable for the everyday user. But that's a great way to get adoption early on, is to just make it usable. And I don't think that we've seen any indication that giving privacy to users makes something unusable. You just have to be a little bit more considerate about the user experience.
100%. Yeah. And we're constantly going back to the drawing board and iterating, and we've got thousands of mock-ups of things that we've tried that weren't the ideal. So we're constantly thinking about this UI UX experience, and obviously the privacy aspect does complicate it a little bit, but we've really found that with a lot of intentional thought and effort put behind UI UX and user flow, that we've been able to unlock a privacy preserving experience that still makes sense to the user, still is incredibly straightforward, and still functions in a way that onboarding new users, even new users to DeFi in general, can be super seamless and super comfortable from a Web 2 kind of background that most people are coming from. But that's totally true. I think in the space in general, there is a super, super low bar for usability and UI UX and just general functionality and web design of some DeFi products. So we're really hoping that all of the thought and effort that have gone into usability and interface experience is going to pay off, because we're already fingers crossed, and based on some feedback that we've heard, setting ourselves up in a pretty good positioning with what we're putting out. But we're hoping obviously to set ourselves apart through a lot of different aspects, and obviously UI UX is one of them, and one of the most important ones for sure.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, I see it completely your way as well. And I know you guys aren't the type of people to be satisfied just by hurdling a very low bar here. Obviously, you're going for best in class regardless. But yeah, we can all agree that there is a pretty low bar in the blockchain space right now. And it's great to see you guys considering this, and I hope other dApps in the secret ecosystem also sort of rise to the occasion. If you guys set a best-in-class example, I hope to see other players in the secret ecosystem consistently try to do the same. Let's return for a moment to talk about staking derivatives on ShadeSwap. I know that when we've talked before, we've talked about how staking derivatives are intended to play a really critical role. But there's probably a lot of people listening here who don't know much about staking derivatives, who've never interacted with a staking derivative, don't understand the consequences or advantages. Lay it out for us. How are you guys thinking about staking derivatives on ShadeSwap? Why are they important, and why is it giving you guys an advantage with how you've decided to build the product?
Yeah, 100%. So let me break this apart into three different sections here. First, I'll address how ShadeSwap specifically functions that's beneficial for derivatives. I'll touch on how we're thinking about them, and then I'll kind of talk a little bit on the future and where I think everything's going with staking derivatives in general in the cosmos. But to start off, when we started building ShadeSwap, we knew that mathematically we wanted to build something with the asymmetric tail control just to add a little bit more specificity in the ways that we could set up our swap. But we weren't 100% sure how that would exactly function and what the exact use cases for that would be. Obviously, in some cases, it's beneficial for Silk. We can protect Silk's peg by incentivizing slippage in one direction or the other. But that wasn't necessarily the unlock for the utility that was really the game changer. What happened was we started talking with Stride, and we realized that in these conversations, for staking derivatives specifically, the order flow is really unidirectional. So for the most part, people are in the staking derivative, and they're leaving to go back to the underlying L1 token. And on a symmetric slippage curve, there's a ton of wasted liquidity underneath one side of the curve, where all of this liquidity is being provided under the curve for people to go from the L1 token into the staking derivative. But the real bulk of the order flow is actually moving the opposite direction, where most people are holding the staking derivative, and the majority of the order flow is actually going back to the L1 token. So we realized that with our new mathematics and our new curve, we could essentially jack up the slippage on one side and push all of the liquidity in the swap to one direction, so that we have a hyper efficient DEX that allows users to go with almost zero slippage from the staking derivative back to the underlying L1 token. So all of a sudden, we found ourselves with this new math that's super highly efficient for one of the fastest growing parts of the DeFi ecosystem in the Cosmos specifically. So when we were thinking about derivatives, we had this curve, and we realized that we really wanted derivatives to be a centerpiece of ShadeSwap. So in our eyes currently, derivatives are the most efficient way for any user in general to hold an L1 token, because that means you can take that staking derivative, you can liquidity provide, you can do other DeFi actions with it, but the whole time you're still receiving the staking rewards from the underlying L1, and not missing out on any of those rewards while you use the liquid derivative in whatever context you need. That also, contextualized for liquidity providers, means that you can come in, take two liquid stake derivatives, and provide liquidity on both sides of a swap, and be earning trading fees and be earning the underlying staking rate the entire time on both sides. So we also have now a swap that allows liquidity providers to be earning two L1 emission rates plus trading fees on our swap. So it's super hyper efficient for the users that are trading between derivatives, as well as the liquidity providers that are earning three streams of revenue essentially from these swaps that they're liquidity providing on. And then that kind of gets me into the last piece, which is the future. I think in general right now, even though we do have some pretty mature staking derivative products in the Cosmos, we've still been seeing that the LSD market in Cosmos is pretty underdeveloped, and there's some great key players that we're already working with. But we really think that a year from now, 2 years from now, the main bulk of transactions and liquidity will be tied up in staking derivatives, just because it's such a hyper efficient way of holding capital that you can still use functionally in a bunch of different contexts. So one of the main focuses of ShadeSwap is that it's going to be a staking derivative focused DEX. And we've got countless partners that we're already chatting with. We've got emissions deals set up with teams like Stride. And we're super excited to be a really focused LSD DEX as well as a stablecoin DEX.
Whoa. All right, now we're getting into the big stuff, right? The whole meat of it here. You said a lot of big words there. You say like an LSD DEX, a stable swap DEX. I also heard multiple partners. What else can you tell us there about these partners? Because obviously, we do talk about this a lot on Secret Spaces as well. Like UX is important, but equally important is distribution and incentives. Like, how are these applications getting into the hands of users? Why should they use them in the first place? A lot of the time, things just get built and there's no consideration to any of that stuff. Clearly, you guys have thought about this very hard. So when you're thinking about hitting those big TVL numbers, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, how are you thinking about these partnerships, and how are your partners thinking about you?
Yeah, that's a great question, directed for me, actually. I work with partnerships on the Shade side, so this is really kind of what I'm thinking about constantly. And on the partnership side, what's really exciting on ShadeSwap is that with this highly efficient DEX, with the APRs that we see in general benchmarking against other DEXs that have similar strategies and similar pairings, we're seeing that we're able to acquire TVL at a rate that's much more significant than a lot of our competitors, just due to the efficiency of this. So all of a sudden, we're in a place where we're coming to partners and we're saying, hey, mathematically, we are literally one of the best options that you could choose to put your emissions on our decks. So we've been having some great partners that have been coming to the table. And really it's a strategic conversation of, obviously this is a beneficial move for both of us. Now, how do we best situate ourselves timing wise, community wise, to leverage this as much as possible? And I think Stride is a great example of a team that we've really strongly aligned ourselves with. And they've got a good, strong community. They've got a good, strong Cosmos base. And really, when it comes down to it, the partners that we're looking for have a strong community. They have a great product. They're highly reactive in the space. They're producing something that we trust and that we know that our users, secret network users, and as well their community all will work well together and all will want to use and interoperate, move around between our different products.
That's super cool. I mean, I'm going to have to dig a lot more into all these potential partners. Of course, as some of these I think you've announced, some of them I don't think are quite as announced. So as soon as you guys are starting to release a little bit more information, I'll certainly go down the rabbit hole and see what you guys have covered.
100%, 100%. And realistically, at this point, it's all of the big LSD providers in the Cosmos are at the table, and we're having conversations with everybody. So it's a little bit of a waiting game at this point to get ShadeSwap out the door and see that TVL start to roll in. But we're very confident that we've positioned ourselves strategically at this point, and we're super excited for the product to hit mainnet.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like people have been waiting a long time for an app like this to exist in any universe, Cosmos or otherwise, and certainly within the secret universe. This is one of a kind. We do have a very rapidly expanding DeFi universe in secret. Obviously we've had Sienna live for a long time. We've also got a lot of things being built like Blizzard, and we have things like Button Swap doing aggregation. But I think you guys might have maybe, you have a very aggressive and extensive roadmap. Before we get into talking specifically about that roadmap, I did want to quickly ask, because I know you guys had ShadeSwap coming a little bit earlier, and the date's been pushed a couple times. What's the current timeline looking like for the release of ShadeSwap? And what were you guys learning that made you make the decision to kind of push things a bit?
Yeah, the current timeline is looking really good. We're still looking at within this month, and we're having conversations as we speak with the developers to get an exact accurate timeline, which will be announced soon. But what happened is we pushed ShadeSwap out to public testnet, and we incentivized the public testnet, and our community and the secret community, as well as some of our partners' communities, are super strong, very active communities, and we've seen thousands of tickets roll in through the last few weeks, and so far there's been nothing major, nothing breaking, which is great. We've pushed our auditing through several rounds, as well as external audits through several rounds. But some of these smaller UI UX bugs and light fixes that we've been doing have been prioritized just because of the amount of them there, and we really want to prioritize safety and security and to make sure that we're pushing out a top-notch product to our community. So in that, I say we have delayed the product a little bit, but we also simultaneously want to thank all of our community members who participated in this public testnet and helped us make sure that we're releasing an optimized product to the community once it hits mainnet.
Awesome. Well, I love optimized products. and I certainly have a lot of empathy for people who build these incredibly complex things and then choose to take a small delay as opposed to put out a product that could be difficult to use or potentially dangerous to use. In this case, it doesn't sound like there's much danger, but it does sound like you just want to put the best thing possible in front of the community so they can hit the ground running. And I know you guys got a lot of positive feedback in the past, for example, about the UX behind your airdrop claims.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was something you guys considered a lot. Is there anything in particular you kind of learned from past releases that you're looking to apply here, like your experience with getting the airdrop claim live, which was a technical feat in itself?
100%, yeah. So it's obviously we're a young team, and this is for many of us the first time that we've launched some of these products. We've got teams that are contributing and individuals that have gone through the whole DeFi cycle before. But for some of us, this is the first time through. So we're all on our toes, learning a bunch, but we're continuing to get more and more dialed and pushing out more and more accurate release dates and deadlines. But obviously, we're still in the learning process, and we're building products that have in the world never been built before. So there's always a bit of a learning curve for stuff like that. But again, the biggest thing for us is we've consistently really seen that our community is extremely supportive of us pushing out the best products and the safest products and the most well-designed products rather than hit a deadline. So we've seen great positive community feedback even after we've pushed back this deadline of people that are really just looking forward to ShadeSwap coming, and we're really looking forward to pushing out a product that will exceed everyone's expectations in every level of the design. But the biggest learning curve has definitely been just the whole product cycle, and it's we're building new things that have never been done before. So
Well, unfortunately, you've raised my expectations a lot. So you have to now hurdle this newly raised bar. If anybody can do it, I'm sure it's you guys. But just be aware that now I'm extremely excited, and I expect a lot from you.
I'm confident we'll
Um,
exceed Tor. I was just presenting testnet to some of our partners this morning, and I was blowing my own socks off just watching myself go through this product. It's a beautiful product. It works seamlessly. We're just super pumped to get it out to the community. And again, this is coming extremely soon. The wait will not be very long.
that's good. I'm very impatient. Uh, well, we are about halfway through this space, and usually that's when I will reshare some very important information for listeners because we have free to mint secret NFTs for every Secret Spaces attendee every single week. This week is no exception. So if you want to go grab this week's free to mint NFT, it's very easy to do. It costs you nothing, but you do need the claim code. This week's claim code is Spartan. All one word, capital letters, Spartan, Spartan. You can go click through the link in the pinned tweet here. It'll take you straight to a page where you can claim today's secret badge and you can show it off or not. That's the great thing about privacy by default. It is completely up to you whether you want to just keep this for yourself or show it off to everyone in the world. It is up to the user. Privacy is about choice. Thank you for everybody who's chosen to tune in today so far with the Shade team. Just to reset, we are talking with the Shade Protocol team about ShadeSwap. We are talking about this next generation of DeFi on Secret. And we spent 30 minutes now about talking about ShadeSwap. Let's go and talk about everything else Shade Protocol's up to. You guys have launched a few things already, but before we talk about that, let's talk about what you haven't launched. What else are you guys working on that we might see in the near future? Let's look beyond ShadeSwap just a little bit. What else is out on the horizon that people should start getting excited about already?
If we're talking waiting just a little bit, I do have some great stuff coming with Silk, our stablecoin, as well as our lending application, which will be coming within the next month here as well. So we've got two of our main products coming almost side by side, and Silk and the lending protocol will be our almost fully complete. They're in a super good spot, but we are waiting for Swap to launch ahead of those, just to add that increased utility for Silk, so that once you come to the lending page, you mint out Silk, you'll have that immediate liquidity or that immediate utility with Swap and be able to use Silk in all sorts of different contexts. But the lending protocol and Silk are the products that are next up on the line, and really the finalization for the main net of Shade Protocol and the vision that we set out to build over a year ago.
Cool. I think Silk is the thing that when I talk about secret DeFi at conferences or when I just have casual conversations about the importance of privacy to finance, Silk is the one thing that everybody seems to latch onto because it's this idea that you'll have a asset that's not meant for speculation. It's meant to be a store of value, but we also are considering privacy first and foremost. This idea that everybody has the right to transact without being globally surveilled. And of course, like with other secret tokens, you always have the choice of whether to disclose your own activities. It's auditable, but it's still private by default, which is critical, I think, for actually empowering users with decentralized finance as opposed to just creating a much worse version of the systems we've already got. When you guys have conversations about Silk, what do you hear people say about this? Like, what are they most excited for when they hear about Silk? And then maybe like, what do they have the most questions about? What are they most skeptical of? If they don't understand it, what are the kinds of questions they ask you in order to try to wrap their heads around it?
I think this is probably the same answer for both of those pieces of the question, but I've both seen people be most excited about the fact that Silk is a basket pegged currency, as well as have the biggest questions about that concept. So essentially, what Silk is a conglomerate peg of a bunch of different fiat assets, as well as Bitcoin, gold, and it's pegged to all of these assets, which lend its stability to the peg and allow it to be a super flexible functional currency in this kind of universal sense where it's not pegged directly to USD or it's not pegged directly to the euro exclusively. It's actually pegged to this conglomerate basket of all of these currencies and commodities, which allow it to be hyper flexible with regulation, with movement between the peg if some of these fiat currencies or pegged currencies start inflating or deflating extremely quickly. And from some of our global partners, we've seen great excitement with this specifically because it's one of the first stable coins that's not directly pegged to the United States dollar exclusively. So this all of a sudden opens it up to tons of different markets. It's pegged to the yen. It was pegged initially in one of our scopings to the ruble, and then that was rescoped. It's pegged to the euro. It's pegged to the Canadian dollar. So all of a sudden, you've got all of these different national currencies that are represented in one currency as this conglomerate, and it really kind of lends towards that utility of having it be cross-functional across many different areas of the globe. And secondly to that, there's also probably been the most questions from people on that, of people wondering how functionally it works, wondering why we decided to do that instead of pegged to the US dollar. But in my eyes, I really think this is one of the first steps in the future of currency where we've already seen currency move on chain. We've seen dollar pegged stable coins like DAI and USDC that are both centralized or decentralized. And that frontier has kind of been reached. And the next step for that is adoption. I think Silk is really on that initial frontier of being a different version of a future currency where it's pegged to this global basket. It's on chain, it's decentralized, and we're really seeing ourselves fit in on that frontier and simultaneously challenging and tackling the challenge of developing Silk to be this currency, as well as increasing adoption and utility in competition with the hundreds of other stablecoins that you see on the market currently. But to answer your question, simultaneously, I think the basket peg's been one of the most exciting features that I've heard, and one of the most questioned features from people as well.
Oh, amazing. Well, again, like I had all the same questions hearing about it for the first time, and I think you guys, at least privately, have answered a lot of them for me. But even so, what matters is adoption. When we start to see things like Silk in people's hands and in practice, I must ask. I don't think you'll tell me. What kind of timeline are we looking at for Silk? And have you guys been thinking about maybe some partners for driving Silk adoption inside and outside the crypto space?
Yeah, so for the timeline, all I'll say is soon. We're very very close. We're waiting on Swap to get out the door here within the next couple of weeks, and then in short order, very short order, we'll have Silk and the lending application live. And like I said, those are very far along in their development, so there's some very minor things that have to happen at the end here, but we're extremely close to having Silk in the hands of users and having users be able to use it and swap it on our new decks. So super excited for those coming in short order here. But on the adoption side of things, we've got a ton of really cool things coming down the pipeline and really cool partnerships that we're chatting with. Everything from video games that are looking to denominate the in-game currency and in-game values in a stablecoin in Silk, all the way to fiat integrations. So ton of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. Nothing that I will drop directly as alpha here on this call, but there are some stuff that are coming in short order once we have Silk launched, and a ton of exciting adoptions.
Awesome. Well, we're getting to that last quarter of the Twitter space. So if anybody has questions for this awesome team, start putting your hands up. We will be bringing you up on stage to ask your questions, give your updates. Or if you just have general questions about the secret ecosystem, secret DeFi, if you have your own ideas for the role that privacy can and should play in decentralized finance, stick your hand up. We'll try to bring you up here on stage. Just before we get to those questions, though, I'll ask you one last question for now. What do people need to do if they want to get involved with Shade right now, either as a user of their product, as a member of the community, or just somebody following along on Twitter or elsewhere? What should they do?
Awesome question. One of the first things I'd say for you to do, if you were an Atom Osmo secret staker and you were holding that, go to our webpage and check to see if you're eligible for our airdrop. And if you are and haven't claimed it, get on that. We've got an impressive claim rate already, over 50% for our airdrop claim, but there's still a bunch of people that haven't claimed. And if you were eligible for that airdrop, you have got free Shade sitting waiting for you on our webpage. So go check that out first off. Hit us with a follow on Twitter. We hold regular Twitter spaces. We tweet out alpha and updates on the product timeline. We've also got Telegram and Discord communities that are super active, so I definitely recommend checking that out. Ask any questions in any of those chats, and we've got community mods and community members that'll be happy to answer anything. And then last, if you are interested in partnering with Shade Protocol, seeing how you can work with our DeFi suite, partnering with marketing, product, or interested in Silk, I'd love to chat. Hit me up on Twitter at Fisco, and we can get a conversation rolling on how you can partner with Shade Protocol.
Sweet. Well, obviously follow Shade here on Twitter. That's one click away for all of you. Just give them a follow right here. We do have somebody else joining us up on stage for just a moment, so welcome to the stage, Red Eye.
Thank you for bringing me up on stage. The first thing I'd like to say is just how blown away I personally am, and how blown away the Shade Protocol team has been in the amount of engagement and feedback we've received in this testnet. I believe Fisco covered it, but we have seen not only the Secret Network community, but our partner communities come out in full force and participate in the incentivized testnet that we're running. And I and the team have been incredibly appreciative and are very grateful for everyone that has participated and is going to continue participating in the future. The main thing I really wanted to highlight here, and some of this requires some of the context Fisco provided earlier, was that Shade is changing a lot of paradigms for, whether it be capital efficiency for particular DeFi products, or staying very true to the ethos of decentralization and what it means to be a decentralized stablecoin. Really what I wanted to point out was that because we are challenging so many narratives and are really trying to push the bounds of what it means to be a successful and sustainable DeFi project, that's going to require a lot of effort on our part to educate not only retail users, power users, institutions, anyone that could benefit from using our products. And so this is more a statement for the community to expect a lot of information coming from Shade Protocol about how these products actually propose value to all the different types of users. And really just want to congratulate the Shade Protocol team for getting to this point, and very excited to see these products finally come to fruition and have everyone be able to interact with them. My excitement cannot be overstated here.
Well, if anybody else wants to come up on stage and express their excitement, we do have another 10 minutes towards the top of the hour. People can come on, ask their questions of the Shade team. It's rare that we have their full and undivided attention here, so come on up. Or, again, if you've got questions just generally around the Secret ecosystem or other apps that are launching, or if you have your own updates to share, this is the perfect time. We do this weekly as Secret Spaces. We also encourage, of course, people to join our communities. The main one is our Discord. You can come to chat.scrt.network. Also, you should definitely follow us here. Just tap right on the Secret Network account and give us a follow if you're not already. We would love to keep in touch with you. But I would highly recommend joining the Secret community and getting to know some of these other amazing builders and contributors that have been supporting us, some for years and years and years and years. And the Shade Protocol team has been here years and years and years. That's how we know they're as dedicated to this ethos of privacy as we are. Delighted to see a lot of the things they've been talking about for years finally becoming reality. Can't wait for all of you to get hands-on with the products that they've been talking about once they become mainnet. It is super exciting to see this next generation emerging before our eyes. So again, stick your hands up here. We got about 10 minutes. Otherwise, I always have questions that I can ask because I always want to know more about this kind of stuff. So while we wait to see if anybody else wants to come up here, I'll ask one more time. Is there any DeFi product outside the Secret ecosystem that you guys are watching and thinking about and thinking like, oh, that's being done right, or that is super interesting? Like, where are you guys taking inspiration from?
Yeah, I think the first two that come to mind are Crescent Out and Umi. We're big fans both of their teams, and we've chatted with them several times. But Umi's really, I think, has one of the main things been able to create a super vibrant community of people that are deeply involved in their protocol, and that's really something that we are seeking to emulate with Shade and on Secret Network. But their lending protocol has gotten great adoption, and we've seen them continue to grow during this bear market. So both of those projects, I'd say, are up there. And for myself personally, as strategic partnerships or business development, my kind of ideal that I always shoot for is the Polygon team. I think I've been more impressed with their business development than almost any other project in Web3. So if I could dream and say in 5 years the Shade Protocol team will have done business development in one way or partnerships in one way, it would be emulating Polygon. I think they've done some really impressive work partnering with traditional finance and traditional industries, as well as new Web3 teams.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. It's hard to argue with results. So when it comes to doing things that seem to get global adoption or touch millions of users, and that's the scale we're searching for here, definitely looking at those other ecosystems where they've done a really effective job, trying to take a ton of inspiration. It's too early to say how many of these things that seem like pilots are going to turn into multi-billion-dollar opportunities, but definitely seeing that some other ecosystems have at least made that a conversation. Finally, we're starting to say to ourselves, maybe this is real. Maybe everybody is going to use this stuff. It was not that long ago that everybody was assuming that this stuff would never scale outside of a bunch of nerds. Clearly no longer the case. Clearly we can take a lot of inspiration from what's already worked, but clearly a lot of work to be done in order to cross the chasm or to introduce things like privacy that to this point haven't existed. Adoption is nice, but if we get global adoption of things that are fully and radically transparent by default in a way that harms the user experience or harms their security or harms their freedoms, then we're in trouble. So adoption is great, but adoption in a way that's consistent with our ethos, I think, is important as well.
100%, yeah. And I think, at least from my perspective, the bear market has really given me a lot of confidence in the staying power that crypto in general has, and it's simultaneously also, I think, highlighted the necessity for privacy moving forwards. Privacy and self-custody are really two things that everyone's like, oh shit, like that might be important in the future. So I'm really excited to be working with Secret Network on such an important personal liberty thing like privacy and its future in the DeFi space and in the financial space in general. So it's cool to see it develop, and it's only made me more confident in the future of the space, as well as the necessity for things like privacy and personal self-custody.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I can add something here, kind of touching on privacy, with regards to ShadeSwap, Shade Protocol has been able to build something that provides multiple tiers of value to a base of users that Secret Network previously really hasn't been able to service that well, and that's mostly power users. When you think about the capital efficiency that comes with a stable swap or a derivative swap, the people who are going to really notice that capital efficiency are large players swapping a lot of value. Smaller players, you might not notice the difference between one DEX to the other, especially if you're swapping between two different stable swaps. But in conjunction with that capital efficiency, the privacy that's provided, not only to liquidity providers, but also people swapping, adds such an extra, it adds another layer on the value proposition. And for these larger players who might recognize the value of privacy a bit easier than your average retail user, this is a really big deal for Shade Protocol, and so I'm excited to see how the growth of larger players in not only the Cosmos DeFi ecosystems, but Ethereum and other ecosystems that Axelar is connected to. Just seeing the growth, in DeFi.
Yeah, that's a great point, Red. I think the privacy aspect, the efficiency of our swap, the ability to be getting real yield from both sides of liquidity providing. There's tons of these different aspects that all build on top of each other to create in Shade Protocol what is a great space for some of the bigger players in the DeFi ecosystem. So super excited to see that develop. We're working with some teams over on Ethereum or the Ethereum focus side to build out pipelines for end user acquisition models to get Ethereum people over here and get some new people into the Cosmos as well. So there's a lot of things at play and a lot of pieces that we're building to set things up so that we can really get a lot of folks over into this ecosystem.
Can't wait to see people starting to discover the depth and the breadth of the Cosmos through all of these different things that are launching right now. Today, obviously, we're talking about a secret dApp, something that's launching mostly with Secret Network, but you guys touch every single chain in the Cosmos, right? And every single user in the Cosmos is going to end up exploring what you're doing. And people using ETH-based assets are going to bridge over and be able to explore what you're doing. And then, of course, there's all these incredible dApp chains in the Cosmos. And look, people don't really understand the depth and the breadth of what's already been built here. And they probably don't understand the power of what you guys are launching, but they will. They will. And until the stuff is live, which is imminent, and that's exciting. Being able to talk about it with you guys is a pleasure. Being able to hear more about how you've been thinking about it, being able to hear a little bit about what's next as well, and the broader vision for Shade, beyond ShadeSwap, beyond Silk, is really cool and really exciting. So I wanted to thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to come and join us, lay it all out. We really do look forward to seeing this stuff go live, and when we get to talk to you next on Secret Spaces, I'm sure we'll have you guys back again in the future. But for now, good luck with the launch, and good luck getting this stuff to hundreds of millions of TVL. It's what we all want, and it's exciting to see that you guys have a path to get there.
Thanks for having us on, Tor. Great to chat again. If you're interested in what we're building, head to shadeprotocol.io or app.shadeprotocol.io. Either of the two for information and check out what we've got live. And again, we're looking forward to getting Swap out the door for all of you, and Silk and Lend in short order after that. Thanks, guys.
Amazing. And thank all of you for joining us today in the Secret Spaces audience. Please don't forget to claim your secret badge for attending. The link is still pinned here in the pinned tweet. Get in there now. I'm going to give that claim code just one very last time. That claim code is Spartan. All one word, Spartan. That's the claim code you need to claim it. Go claim your badge. Show off that you were here today supporting the Shade team. Come back next week. Show off that you were supporting next week's guests. And come back every week to keep learning more about the secret ecosystem, the people that are building, the people who are trying to scale privacy-first solutions to global adoption. Delighted to have all of you here and in the secret ecosystem. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be well, and I'll see you around the secret universe. Take it easy.